So this evening, Be'ez Hashem, we're learning the Malchus of the Rebbe. This evening, everybody here. We're learning the Sikh of the Dvar Malchus from the Rebbe, Parshas Bechukotai, Toshin Nun Aleph. But at that particular year, Bahar and Bechukotai were Mechubarim, and the learning is taking place in the Beis Knesset of the Tzedek, of the year Kodesh, year Tiko, year Kodesh Tsfat, Kebeinu V'Zchofeinu B'Meinu V'Yomeinu, and this evening is the Thursday night prayer, the Koch Vog, Earl Koch Ia Toshin Einchet. So we say good evening to all those who are taking part in the Shir. So the Rebbe begins the Sikha with a very, very demanding Sikha, and we'll do the best we can to get over the central message of the Shah.
Amen.
So the Rebbe begins, Echad mitziyunei haderech hamekoziyah v'dachim shel bnei Yisrael v'kabbalas haTorah. One of the central and very key pauses or places that the Yidden reached immediately prior to Matan Torah was when they entered Midbar Sinai on Rosh Chodesh Sivan. And this Parsha Bahar, the Bechukotai, how it was then by Yidden in Chutz Haaretz, and by us it's Parsha Bechukotai, is Shabbos Mevochim of Rosh Chodesh Sivan. Well, that's the day that Baal Bnei Yisrael, the Midbar Sinai. Yeah, they came to the desert of Sinai. Shehem Yashom Li'achem Mekaim Nitna HaTorah. And shortly following their arrival, as it brought down in the Alter Rebbe's Shulchan Aruch, that immediately following Rosh Chodesh Sivan, Moshe began all the preparations with the Jewish people for the receiving of the Torah, as it brought down in detail what happened on every day. And the Medrash Tanchuma brings down a statement that immediately they arrived in Midbar Sinai on Rosh Chodesh Sivan, the Eibishter said to Moshe Rabbeinu that Higia Hashor Shani Noisen Lahem HaSatorah, that it's already come the hour and the time when I'm going to give them the Yidden, the Torah. And even though it took another 5 days until they actually got the Torah, but those 5 days were all days of what we might call final preparation, which Moshe Rabbeinu personally busied himself with the Jewish people to get them ready for the great moment of the actual Nesinus HaTorah. And that's what we're told about in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, based on the Sugya of the Gemara Masechta Shabbos, which tells us in detail about those in Yonah. However, Mikivat Midbar Sinai, since it follows then that the desert of Sinai is Kashur Matan Torah, Kenema Moshe Kibul Torah mi Sinai, and it's not written Ha Sinai, but just from Sinai. What that would imply the whole area, the Midbar as well as the mountain. But Torah nitna davki b'midbar, and we see that Torah was given davki in a desert. If we examine the whole thing carefully, we see that Torah was davki given to us in a desert, and this is brought down with great length in the words of our sages. The significance of the tremendous central importance of the fact that the Torah was given in a desert, in Bamidbar, Davke, Bamidbar Sinai. And later, the Rebbe is going to ask the question, why is it so important? What place the Torah was given in general? Why should that have such a central... The main thing is what was given to us in the Torah. It didn't matter if we got it inside a suburb in a place. Why do we have to be taken out into the midbar? And we had to be Davki in a midbar. So there's a long footnote from the Rebbe where the Rebbe says that that's apart from the fact that this comes to teach a mensch. Basically, we're asking Beneged to what you might call the place, or what's the significance of the place particularly. But if a man looks at himself and his personal relationship to a midbar, then he comes to the conclusion that the Torah was given in a midbar to teach him that he's got to act like a midbar. He's got to be like a midbar. Dahainu b'tachlis habitl, absolute self-effacement, and a desert doesn't really produce anything much, and people just walk over it anxiously to get out of it. In other words, the dimension is just like a absolute simple place where people tread him over in order to get elsewhere. And that's the whole idea of the beetle atzmi of a mensch, that he has to be a kli to receive the Torah. So the Rebbe says that he's not dealing with that. He's dealing more with the question, what is the actual milah of the place of a desert? Why was it precisely that? Yes, Yeshu Mokim Hefker, if we think for a moment about a midbar, it's an unknown place. It's a place of where anybody can come along and just grab. It has no ownership. Probably nowadays it doesn't. Well, it probably has claimants to own it. But originally, when man was first setting up the world, Yishul, he didn't pay any attention to the desert. It was, how do you call it, a mocking beyond and without ownership b'klal. So he says, Kedei lahoidus, shekol Yehudi yochol lilmoid Torah. What our sages tell us, that comes to teach me, basically, that anybody can learn Torah. Just like a desert has no ownership, and anybody can come along and sort of take a piece of it. So in the same way, you don't have to have any previous, what you might call, requirements to learn Torah. All you have to do is want to learn Torah, and you can come along, and you can be zeicha min ha'hefker. You can pick up the Torah from the unowned state of the desert. לכן, כשבני ישראל הגיע למדבר סיני, אז הגיע הזמן שבני ישראל יקבלו את התורה. Once they reached that idea of kipshute begashmias, that they were in a desert, then the Abishah said to Moshe Rabbeinu, this is the fixed and kosher moment to give them the whole Torah. ולכן, תמיד לפני חג מתן תורה, before Shavuos, קודם יש הפרשה במדבר, Sinai. That's the parsha what every year, and it's brought down in the Torah and other places based on the Gemara in Masechta Megillah, that we always read parsha Bamidbar before Shavuot. Now, certain rare years we read parsha Nosoi immediately before Shavuot, but most years the last Shabbos prior to the actual Yom Tov, which was a parsha Bamidbar. And anyway, Bamidbar always occurs before, immediately close to Matan Torah. So that comes to stress the relationship of being in a place called Midbar, and in Midbar Kufa, Midbar Sinai, that must have a very integral connection with the whole idea of the giving of the Torah. So the Rebbe said, a midbar is so like we said, a place of unowned, mokim hefker, there's no owner. Yeah, mokim shaloi shayat la'af echad. It's not really in the balut, how do you call it, balut, of anybody. Yeah, hu afilu lo reshut harabim. It's not even a public thoroughfare. It's just, how do you call it, a huge piece of nowhere. The Torah. It's not even a public thoroughfare. So the Rebbe says, Mokim sheshayat, what Rishus Rabim is at least shayat to Rabim. It's at least owned by a public. Of a desert not owned by anybody. V'lochein kol echad yechol lekachet mishom masher b'ratoineh. Anybody can take from the desert whatever he wants. So that's the hint. Yeah, brought down in quite a number of madrashi of our sages, that you can come and take Torah. You don't need any lead-ups or any yichus, to use the expression. You can just come and take the Torah and learn it. So the Rebbe says that's great, but there's a slight problem, as we're soon going to see. So he says, אבל התורה לכאורה לא הופקרה עד כדי כך שיש צורך לקנוס אותו. If you wanted to come along and take it from the hefker, then you would have to make a pulis, what's called a kinyan. You would have to in some way pick it up and make it part of your ownership, if you're going to pick it up from the hefker. However, he said, we find that the relationship of the Jewish people to Torah is not like that. No, on the contrary, the Eibishter preserves his ownership over the Torah, and he gives it to the Jewish people. Matan Torah implies that he gives it to us as a matana. Not that he just gave it out in the desert and said anybody who wants can go take it, but then he would have to make a kinyan. On the contrary, it seems to have remained in his ownership, and he does with it what he wants. What did he do? He gave it to the Jewish people. But let's put it this way, he shared it with the Jewish people. He gave it to them, but he still retains his ownership over Hashem. So therefore, says the Rebbe, lo hufkara at kedi kach sheyesh Torah l'knoisei ela nitno mibar lusoi shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu lebar lusom shel kol Am Yisrael. And since it was given in the form of an absolute gift, every year, doesn't matter who he is, he's got a shaykhs. He may not be out in the midbar, he may not have gone out to the midbar and been coined of the Torah. He doesn't have to. Just the very fact that he's a yid makes the Torah have a connection with him. And not only that, says the Rebbe, afilo latinik shenei ze ato. Afilo, a baby that's been born right now, even before the birth, even before it undergoes the first step in the entrance of the neshama into the body. Well, that's what the Alter Rebbe teaches us. That happens at the bris. That's the beginning of the kinesis on every B'toch. Even before that, he said, a tinnet that hasn't yet had a bris, He said, it is yours, the whole Torah. It gets the whole Torah from the Eibishter, just like a Godel Shabbat, just like a big, a very grown person. And he doesn't need to, make a kinyan. He doesn't have to purchase the Torah. That's it. From the moment that he's born, he comes out of his mother's womb. ואם כן, מה הסיבה שהתורה ניתנה דווקא במדבר? If that's the case, that we own the Torah because it was given to us, and Hashem gave it to us, as it were, being as He is the real owner of the Torah, is if so, why did He give the Torah? And He made the actual gift in a place of Hefker. Yeah? At least give it in a public thoroughfare, whereas at least that belongs to a rabbin, at least belongs to somebody. But it comes out that the Eibishter doesn't take away his ownership, and he gives it precisely into the ownership of the Jewish people, and yet nonetheless he gave it in a place where it looks like a place where there's no ownership. So that needs to be understood, that like what you might call dichotomy of interests in the whole Hina. So that's one Hina. So the Rebbe says, אם כן, מה הסיבה שהתורה ניתנה דווקא במדבר, כי הפך לא ברשות הרבים. ישנו פרשה נוספת הקשור למתן תורה, and the Rebbe said there's another parsha that also is connected with Matan Torah, not just Bamidbar, but that's our parsha that they were reading then in Chutzpah, Bahar u'Bechukotai. Har and Bechukotai together. Oisa koidim b'derech klal lifnei Rosh Chodesh Sivan. Before you get to Rosh Chodesh Sivan, then you read Parsha Bechukotai, and sometimes you read both of them, both Bahar and Bechukotai together. So the Rebbe says Mishulpa, it's brought down in the Gemara, Masechta Megillah. But the Gemara tells us over there that Ezra HaSefer, he was the one who was metakin that the Yidden should read before Matan Torah the Parsha Bechukotai. Hamidaberes al brachas. When he says brachas, he means the beginning. That's the beginning part of it. And that is what, as it were, a condition. Being you came with the Torah, if they will keep the Torah, then they'll get these brachas. The Tzlolis be'im lo chas v'sholem. There's a hemshech to the parsha which says if you won't keep the Torah, then there's a whole bunch of a very severe klala. He said, "Kedei sheyeh hefsek bein haklalos lachag, koyden v'nechad gam parsha b'midbar Sinai." And the Gemara said that is the principal reason why we read Bamidbar before we actually read, before we actually keep Chag. Before we actually have Shavuot. He said because the Gemara says that you have to read Parsha Bechukotai before. Now it's interesting that the Gemara says over there, why do I have to read Parsha Bechukotai before Matan Torah? So the Gemara says like this, so let's examine before Rosh Hashanah, we also read a series of curses, and that's in Parsha Kisovei. So the Gemara said, what do we read all of? And by the way, over there's a double number. Over here in Parsha Bechukotai, it's only 48. Not good statement. Curses, we'll call them that. Over there, it's 98. It's double. The Torah in Parsha Kisovei is very, very severe. So the Gemara asks, why do we read that? So the Gemara says that before Rosh Hashanah, we want that everybody should straighten out his heart, that he got to iron out the pleats in his heart. That's what the Gemara said. Before you go to Rosh Hashanah, when you're supposed to do tshuva and work out what you're holding in the world, then you need to be told very severely where you're going. And so therefore we read a very long Torah before Rosh Hashanah. So then the Gemara asks a question, but we said before Shavuot, we also read a Torah, that's Parsha Bechukotai. So the Gemara says, ain't no harm, because Shavuot is also a Rosh Hashanah. Shavuos is also a beginning of a whole new year because it's the giving of the Torah. So before that, you've also got to iron out the pleats in your heart. You've got to hear the rebukements, how do you call it, the curses. So that's the reason why we have Parshas Bechukotai prior to Shavuot. However, it says the Gemara, we don't want people going straight from all the curses right into the Yom Tov. That's a little bit not easy. And therefore, we put in Parshas Bamidbar between to soften up the effect of it. But you read all the curses, but you have like a week in between, and that's Parshas Bamidbar. Abamecha Nimtzalofim said that the real and main reason brought down in the Gemara why we read Parshas Bamidbar before Shavuot is we want to interrupt between the Teichacha and the Yom Tov. Well, that seems to be a simple reason. Well, that doesn't seem to have to do so much with the actual Teichen of a Midbar. We were saying up to now that it's like a whole message of the actual Teichen of a Midbar. According to that Gemara that tells us the main reason why Ezra Sefer put in Parshas Bamidbar, it seems that we want to sort of interrupt between Parshas Bechukotai, or Parshas Bechukotai we have to read. Before it. So he says, a Parshas Bahar Bechukotai Kshuris L'Matan Torah Gam B'Shmo. He said, the connection between Bahar and Bechukotai and their kesher with the uniform Matan Torah is understandable also in their names. Hashem shall Parshas Bahar, but by some great Rishonim it's called Bahar Sinai. Zehu Hashem Shalamokim Boi Nitna HaTorah. That's the name of the place where the Torah was given, Har Sinai. Therefore, that's a connection. It's got to do with Shavuot. The Kiyadua Hashem Shal Bechukotai Misabelet Aserasa Adibras Shoyu Chakukim Al Shnei Lukas Abrias. The whole name Chukotai indicates a chakiko, that he called an engraving, and that indicates the Aserasa Divres, which were given at Matan Torah, because they were engraved, had he called completely and utterly. The first luchas, they had the letters completely through and through. So the chakiko was a very complete one. So he said, therefore, Chukotai indicates what you might call Musamah, how do you call it, carries in itself the significance of Chakiko, of the oasis, which were Chakukim under Shnei Luchas Abrit. And he said, Aserasa Dibras, and more than that, he said, the Aserasa Dibras also, Koilul, Behilem, is called a Torah Kula. It's brought down in Tanya, and it's also mentioned in several Divrei Chazal, including the Zohar HaKodesh, that the Aserasa Dibras have in themselves the whole Torah Kula. Afila, what is going to be Mishchadish Alidei Talmud Vasik in some future generation, it's all hidden some way there inside the Aserasa Dibras. So he said that supposedly if Bechukotai indicates Chakiko, but that's the Aserasa Dibras, then it's also hinting at the whole Torah. So that means Bahar and Bechukotai have a nice kesher with Shavuot. So they've got like a double kesher now. First of all, they got their names, which indicate their strong connection with Shavuot, and also they have this whole rebuke and everything. They have brachas, and then rebuke. If you won't keep the Torah, that's like a commitment to the Torah that a Yid has to establish within himself, based both on blessings or the opposite of such. That's the connection between Bahar and Bechukotai with Matan Torah. However, he said, Gama Toiket Shal HaParshas Koshul Matan Torah. Also the content, not just the name. He said, Parsha Bahar Matkila Bapirot Dinei Shmita. Parsha Bahar begins with all the dinim of Shmita. If you look in Rashi, and at the beginning of Parsha Bahar, Rashi said, why by the Shemitah did we have to insist or stress that this was given at Har Sinai? All the mitzvahs were given. So he said, because all the details of the mitzvah are also written here. That comes to tell me that all the details of all the mitzvahs were given at Sinai. That's Rashi over there at the beginning of Bahar. So it follows Lafizeh that Bahar indicates how all the mitzvahs were given at Sinai, not only just the mitzvahs, but all their details as well, were all given at Sinai. So that's a very careful connection with the giving of the Torah. Yeah. שכל הפרטים האלה נאמרו למשה בהר סיני, שמכאן לומדים חכמינו שכל פרטי המצוות נאמרו בהר סיני, all the mitzvahs like that, including all the details. בפרשת Bechukotai מסתיימת במילים, the whole completion of Parshas Bechukotai, after all the dinim which follow the curses, and it says, Eila ha-mitzvahs asher tzivu Hashem es Moshe el b'nei Yisrael b'Har Sinai. That's the last words of Parshas Bechukotai. Of we see that it's connected with the mitzvahs, and where were they given? B'Har Sinai. Har Sinai. So we see that both the name and the content of both of those parshas have got to do with the union of Matan Torah. However, they don't mention a desert. They mention a mountain, Har Sinai. So the Rebbe said, that's interesting. He said, however, Parshas Elo lo muzkar midbar Sinai, ela rak Har Sinai. V'ashayla hamitbakeshes madua. Why, if midbar Sinai is so, as we said before, so important, why don't, in these two parshas, why don't we mention midbar Sinai? We only mention the mountain of Sinai. So later the Rebbe is going to deal with that whole issue. So he says, "Beklal tzarich lahovin ma hasiba shenitzes chashivas shenoisnim chashivas lamokim haspecifi boi nitna haTorah." This is a more general question that we have to ask. Why do we give such a significance, and we deal so much in Medrash Chazal and in understanding where the Torah was actually given, what place it was given? Since the Torah is, after all, an instruction to the Jewish people, how they're supposed to live in the world, what does it matter where it was given? Let's say it was given on the top of the Empire State Building or something, it would also be good, you know. What does it matter, you know, exactly the spot in the world where it was given? We make a big fuss out of it. So the Rebbe said, Harei Torah mashpil al kol ha'olam kuloi. So what does it matter where it was given? It's going to affect the whole world anyway. Mikach chayavim anu lahachi. From that we have to reach a conclusion. Shemokim said, the fact that it was given, the midbar Sinai, and Bahar Sinai, well, that is madgish, that stresses as pa'ulas ha'tera ba'olam kulei. Well, that tells us, we understand that the Torah affects the world. But with those concepts of the Midbar and Bahar, Sinai, they teach us how the Torah affects the whole world. How does it do it? And what is in effect the ultimate hashpah of the Torah? Ramela says the Rebbe, in order to understand those diukim that we've made, he said we have to take a look in Pirkei Avos, as is very common in the sikhas of the Rebbe, in the summer sikhs. The Rebbe, generally speaking, finds some connection with the whole point he's making in Pirkei Avos. So he said this particular week we read Pirkei Avos Perik Hay, at the beginning of the 5th parak. So that was the same case when they were reading over there in Nun Aleph, when they were reading Bahar Bechukotai, it was also Perik Hay. So the Rebbe said Pirkei Avos Anikoi b'Shabbat Zu, Poishchim b'Mishnah, they begin with the Mishnah Basora Ma'amores Nivra Ha'olam, that the world was created with 10 statements on the part of Hashem. 10 statements Yeah, it means that the Eibishter Kaviyachol spoke B'dibur Kaviyachol Shalamayla, and Alidei Dibur and the Oisias of the Yisrael Mamoris, yeah, they came about the whole world. So that says the Rebbe Al-Kak Mubur, Vazoya, spoke down in the Zohar Kodesh, Shekeneged Asoras, Amamoris, Shebehem Nivro Elom, Yesh Aseres Adibrois, Shebehem Nita HaTorah, Vahem Mikayimim Es O'Elom. The Zohar Kodesh says a very simple thing, that we find that there are two things of which there are like 10 statements. The world was created with 10 statements, and the Torah was given, and that giving in the 10 statements of the Torah is kernel, like we said a moment ago, it's kernel in itself, the whole Torah. So the Torah was also given in 10 statements. So the Zohar Kodesh says, what's the interconnection between these two facts? So the Rebbe said that the Zohar Kodesh comes to teach us. And it says that the Aseres Hadibres of the Torah, they are supposed to shine in and affect the Aseres Mamoris through which the world was created, and they will reveal to you that what is really keeping the whole world going, and what is the materials of the whole world, the Aseres Hadibres, the 10 Commandments of the Torah, they what give chayes to the whole world. And he said, "V'heim mekayim es ha'olam. Ha'olam nivro b'shvil ha'Torah." And not only was created for the Torah, u'b'schus limet ha'Torah mishkayim ha'olam, that al yidei what we as Yidden learn Torah, we keep the whole world going. Avamela, it's not what people think. It's not how do you call it? The fact that we have a good rocket, or the fact that we have a good plane, we have, thanks to Hashem, yeah, that Hashem gave us those inyonim. But what actually makes the Yidden matzliach with those things that Hashem gave us, yeah, or that is the kishus and the koach of the Torah. If it weren't for the Torah, yeah, and the fact that Yidden learn the Torah, then all these things wouldn't have the ability to bring about the nisim that they do. And so that was the Rebbe comes out a very intimate connection between the Aseres Hadibres and the Aseres Mamorim. That the Aseres Hadibres, the 10 Commandments, they give kiyum and they make the whole world exist. But Torah oisha shalom ba'ilon. Now this is another further thing, not just that it keeps the world going, but it makes shalom in the world. In other words, what is it that you've got all of a sudden a big knob like the President of America and other people, all of a sudden are all working for shalom? Well, that's because Yidden are learning Torah, and there's a big stress on learning Torah. Well, that is causing peace to become very, very sought after in the world. And that's what the Rambam writes. If you look in the Rambam, at the end of Hilchos Chanukah, the Rambam writes that the whole reason why Hashem gave Torah in the world was La'asoi Sholem Ba'olam. That's what the Rambam says. The ultimate purpose of the Torah is to keep the world going, and through that to make peace and make the world, as it were, reach its peaceful fulfillment of what it's supposed to be doing. Why should it do what it's supposed to be doing by throwing bombs? The main thing is it does it in a peaceful way, and that comes mitzad the infant Torah. It's very important. We have to realize that here the Rebbe is revealing to us a tremendously important inyan. All these miraculous things are happening, and tremendous miracles are happening just, as the crow flies, a few kilometers away from us, And the sending of the rocket, Benji was pointing out to me, from where I live, it's only as the crow flies, a few meters away, where they sent these patriarchs and all the rest of it. But we have to ask ourselves, what is giving the koyach that Hashem can reveal himself through the Nisim in this way. The fact that Baruch Hashem, there's such a big stress on learning Torah nowadays. And there's such a build-up in the whole union of learning Torah. And the Rebbe has had the effect that the Bati Chabad all over the world are urging people to learn Torah, and people are learning Torah. Over Mela, it comes out that it's not stone, it all comes together, and the Rebbe is like he's in the hub of the whole thing. So he says, the Rebbe says, we can say this in a slightly different way. What we just said, we said in a more sort of a Siddish, the Lashon of Siddish is more pure. And he says, we can say it this way. Alidei limud b'Torah, the fact that you didn't struggle to learn the Torah, asher sadibros, then they are megale, they are revealing shebe'etzem gama oilom loy mastir alaboyle. They indicate that the world is not a heaven behester on Hashem, on the Creator. Ela laheifer, chos chus kiyumei shel oilom, hu rak me'asola, Maimorid. That's from the Asara Maimorid. Shebehem nivra ha'olam. Ve'ilu ha'boide yisalech halila. If Hashem were to take away his power, from the Asara Maimorid, yes, Asara Maimorid, Yahovku ha'ilum kula la'ayin ve'ever. The Alter Rebbe tells us in Shari Yifat that if Hashem were to take away the Asara Maimorid, then there wouldn't be anything. The whole nivra, the whole creation wouldn't be there. It would all be Ayin Ever. If you think carefully that if Hashem were to take away his power for a moment, the whole world would just go away, then you ask yourself, okay, what's holding the whole world together? What is the materials of the world? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How does he reveal that? Through the sort of Maimorid. But how does that get to the Asara Maimorid? Through the Asara Hadibrais. It's like all one amazing, what you might call, package deal. What do you say to that, man?
Without Hashem, Tzahal could achieve nothing.
Yeah. But you have to realize that Tzahal is the instrument of the Jewish people. And the Jewish people are the instrument of Hashem. If the Jewish people are gearing up in the right way, then Hashem gives through the Jewish people and through Tzahal, he gives things which, just are not to be anticipated in normal, natural things. He just shows how the whole world is really in it's all his business. And that's what happened. And they were I think, as far as I understood rightly, up in the base Levi Yitzchak, they got a dance going right now. They said that they want people to thank Hashem for the Nisim. And they bought, sweets for kids. They're making a whole sort of a little yontif up there. And the reason for it is that they want people to thank Hashem for the Nisim, whatever. And through that you will realize Tzahal also. Or but not that you thank Tzahal and forget about Hashem. You realize that the whole thing is Hashem and his Torah, and that leads to a successful Tzahal. It's an amazing concept. And Nimsalafi there, that if you learn Torah the right way, then you see the world differently. You see the world as only Hashem's Koy. You see the boiring. So the Rebbe said it's a different idea. People say the world is Mailam Umastir. The Rebbe said the world is not Mailam Umastir. The world really Megaleh Hashem. He said, who causes the heaven Behester? Well, that's the mensch with his own Nefesh Abamis. And the fact that he wants to run around after the world without thinking about it. Well, that's what causes the world to have heaven Behester. Well, the world really revealed HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's an amazing sort of, how do you call it, arranging of things in their right order and their right connection, one with the other. So the Rebbe said, now we'll understand the whole relationship between 1 and 10. What does that mean? So he said, Mishnah Mamshucha. At the Gemara, at the Mishnah over there, at the beginning of the 5th paragraph of periodic, and it says, Basorim Amoritz Nivra Oilom, the world was created by 10 statements, and then it says, V'halui b'mayma echad yochel lihiboris, and behold, it could have been created with 1 statement. Ella, why did Hashem not do it with 1, did it with 10? Ella lihipora min harushoyim shema'abdim es ha'olam shenivra b'asorim amoris v'lo seischa teiv l'tzadikim shemekayim es ha'olam shenivra b'asorim amoris. So it's well known. That's a rather problematic statement to understand. Well, first of all, the Parshas, what does he say? He said that the world could have been created with 1 maimon, which means that as far as Hashem, Yecholos, Hashem's capacity, omnipotent capacity, he didn't need to say 10 maimorim. He could just made 1 general statement and the whole world would have come about. And so the Mishnah says, well, why did he do it in 10 statements? So he wanted to punish the Rishoyim, that once it becomes 10, and if it would be 1 statement, then there wouldn't be any Rishoyim and any Tzaddikim. It would be obvious. Since it becomes complicated and there's 10 different statements, then there can be like a choice between, you can get mixed up or you can see what's behind, like we said a minute ago. So therefore there's Rishoyim and Tzaddikim. So they ask themselves the question, if Hashem could have created a b'mayim echad, why didn't he do it? Do it b'mayim echad. Then you won't have tzaddikim, you won't have Rishoyim, and the Rishoyim won't have to get a punishment, and the tzaddikim will be happy if they don't get a reward anyway, they'll be fine. And what do you need to make it in such a way that there will be somebody who will get it on his head and other people will get reward instead of getting on their head? Make it l'chatchila, the way that there's no problem. You follow? That's the question and that's the answer. So the Rebbe said, Nishelet HaSheila, Ima Oilum Haya Yechol Hiboros Alidai Ma'im Echad, Lama HaRishoyim Tzrikim LaHafsid, Biglav Shaboyre Pai, Bochar LaHarbis Ma'im. I said, want to make a lot of maimorim. Make it in 1, you won't have to punish anybody. Yeah. The tzaddikim tzrikim lahaviyah. The tzaddikim are winning and the Rishoyim are losing. Make it with 1 statement. You want to have the whole problem. And we have to say that the Eibishter made the world with Asorim Mamoris, כדי לברוי את העולם, או יצויר שיהיה בפועל גם מים אחד. So the Rebbe said both things are true. That be'emes, in order that Hashem should bring about the world, he had to have 2, as it were, nuances. First of all, he had to have מים echad, and then he had to have Asorim Mamoris. If we remember the Mayim Echad and the Asorim Mamoris are like 2 shlavim or nuances in the same basic creation, in the same idiom, which is called creation. So he said, B'poel gam Mayim Echad, Shiyotze es Metzias Kiyum Choyma Ha'olam. And here the Rebbe is referring to a famous point brought down by the Ramban and later developed on him. There are like 2 stages in the creation. First of all, the Eibishter created what's called a chomer pashut. He first of all brought about yesh min ayin, a general, how do you call it, simple material that wasn't yet divided yet into details. And that's called Elam Abriya, and that's called the chomer harishon, or the chomer hapashut. And that's created b'mayim echad, that Hashem brought about in mayim echad, and that's his yochel, that's Hashem's omnipotence, ability to create yesh mina ayin, to make something come from the absolute. Once he's already got that choimer, then he puts into that details, and then it becomes a sort of mamaras, and then you get the advantage of individuality. If it would be left in the choimer, a portion, the whole creation would be just like a huge choimer, a portion, but there would be no doubt that it wouldn't ever do anything like the opposite, or it would never have any individuality. But early day, the Asora Mamaris, Hashem gave individual chashivas and speciality to each separate creation, and in mankind, he gave what's called Bechira also, and that makes man a very special detail inside the general Choyma horizon. You follow? So it's like two central states in the actual creation. That's how the Rebbe is going to present the whole thing to us. And where do we, that's why the Zohar Kodesh and all the great Mekubalim teach us, including Siddhas, that there are 10 spheres that Hashem goes through to create all the detailed world. He goes through 10 spheres. They're like, as it were, the tools for which Hashem brings about the detailed world. And why? Because the Esespheres, they indicate like 10 different milas, 10 different specific advantages, that Chokmah has this mila, Chesed got this mila, Yesod has this mila, so what happens to that? That all the different creations all get different milas due to the interconnections of these 10 basic milas, which are there. And that's what leads to specific color. So the Rebbe said each one has got a very great mila. The simple general creation of Yesh Min Ayin has got a tremendous advantage. And so is the fact that each individual creation gets his own specific mila and chashira through the detail of Seres HaMamoret. That's all also got an advantage. So let's go ahead and see how the Rebbe develops it. And he says, so that Kidei Libre, so Elam Haya Tzorich Shiyeh Popel Gam Maima Echot, Shiyotzes Matthias Kiyum Choymer. Yeah, Choymer HaMelam is the Choymer HaPoshet that we mentioned. Yeah, Vesuloi. V'gam HaSora Mamores, and no more. V'gam HaSora Mamores, Shemehem Nivra, Kol HaTzureis, Shalom Nivroim, V'kol Prateihim. There's a further step that all the how do you call it, the detailed tzurot, how do you call it, shapes and the forms and milas that are in every specific, that also came about, but that came about through the Asora Mamore. So that's the shoresh of those Asora Mamores in the Esespheres that the Mekubalim do. So the Rebbe said, what is the difference? He said, would actually happen. He were talking about the power of the Eibishter, and here's Yechoilas. Therefore, it's written by Maima Echad Yochel. He were talking about, it actually happened, not just it could happen, it did. But we're talking about Hashem in his Madreya, how he's beyond the world altogether, Yechoilas. He can do that. He can create Yesh Me'ayin. So when we say the Baima Echad Yochel Yibaris, we're talking about the greatness of Hashem, and whereas we're playing down the greatness of the created being. However, he said the other way, because of the fact that it's all the Matthias of Hashem, even when he becomes about to be specific. So that's one thing. So he said, it's like at the other side of the coin. when we say B'mayma Echad Yochel Yiborach, we're talking about the greatness and the Yecholos of Hashem. And we're not paying attention to the details. But when we talk about the Asorim Hamores, so then we are stressing Davke the Chashivas of each detail in the creation. If Kol Prate Hanivroim, Asorim Hamores, how you can egg Eset Chunas Claudias, yeah, well, that's the Esser Spheric. Yeah, Shahim Koilim is Kolamailas, she is Beidel, but that's the Esser Spheric. It comes out that the first statement that the world actually did come about, Boivachel, Yesh Me'ayin, Yechoilas, Zachoima, Harishon, or that's Yochel Yiboris, and that's talking about the greatness of Hashem and the nothingness of the creation. When I talk about the other part of the creation, the Asorim Hamores, I'm talking about each specific detail and its milah that it gets through this great tool that Hashem uses, which is called the Esser Spirit. Then I have a milah in each detail. So it comes to us that the Mishnah is talking about two phases in the Bria, each which has its own milah, but it's like two opposite sides of the coin. One is the milah only of Hashem and not the Nivroim. The other is the milah of the Nivroim. We're referring, as it were, specifically to that advantage that each detail has. So the Rebbe said, "The milah mi ha'olam b'toich ha'olam." What is the ultimate tafkid then of the world and mankind in the world? To take these two things and join them up. In other words, to make the Mayma Echad, Yochel Yiboris, the one and only greatness of Hashem, that should shine down and appear openly inside the milah of the specific detail of each created individual, which means that we're going to unite the two milahs together. So that's the greatness of the whole creation and the whole purpose of what we're going to call Mesilas HaTorah was given for that purpose. And that's why it's connected with Dira B'Tachtoinim. Because Dira B'Tachtoinim means that we unite the one and onlyness, the Mayma Echad with the Asorim Hamores, and we make them one thing, because a Dira is only a Dira if he comes and dwells inside you. Only if he comes down and he's with you, then it's a Dira. Abba Mela says he said, that's what it's all about. He said, Gamba Matan Torah, Yeshnom Shnei Prosim. Also in Matan Torah itself, if we look carefully, we can find Mayma Echad, Asorim Hamores, before we get to the main picture. So he says, Al Matan Torah, now, but Tilim, there's a pasuk in Tilim, capital Summit says, what is written, Achas Diber Elokim, Shtayim Zu Shamati. The Torah Melech says that Hashem spoke one, Achas, but the word Achas is like a general word meaning oneness. Hashem spoke oneness, but I heard two-ness. I heard double. I heard two. So, who are you? What does it mean? Hashem spoke only oneness, and you, meaning the Nivra, you heard two. So the Rebbe is going to build a case about that now. And he said, Mitzad echad ha-Torah hi chok moshe shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, achas im HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Torah is mitzad echad, is only chok moshe shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's one thing with him, u'lemayla mi ha'olam altogether. Achas diber Elokim. That's how the Eibusher is in his own self, completely beyond the world. He's only Achas. Keneged Mayma Echad. That's what the Mishnah hinted to it. That's the Mayma Echad. Yochel Yiborim. However, he said, Mitzad Sheni, HaTorah Yodo La'olam, V'hi mityecheses La'odom, U'La'olam U'L'kol Prati Ha'olam. Therefore, when it comes to Puyo, the Torah divides itself up into Taryag, with Keneged Taryag Eivorim, V'Gidim Sheyesh Ba'odom. That the Torah divides itself up into details, just like man is divided into detail in order to unite with man, to be, as it were, one with him. Keneged asara mamoris, that's like the asara mamoris. And therefore, that's shtayim. Shtayim indicates a plurality. Ani shomati. The Nibra, he hears how the Torah came down into detail for him. So it comes out that Hashem knows that it's all him, and he's only one. All these bottom completed. However, the Nibra, he hears it the way Hashem made it in all the details. Sora mamora, is Umela. That's achas and that's a shtayim. Well, that's what David HaMelech said. Achas diva elikim, shtayim zu ani shomati. It comes out that Hashem, he's only mitzad the absolute oneness of Maimah Echad, and we live in the world of Sora Mamoris, but we've got to now bring the two of them together. So, Yishalidei Yishachas La Maimah Echad Shabbat Adidei Birchas HaTorah. That when you make a blessing, and Yidden, before they learn Torah, they make a blessing. When you make a bracha and then you learn Torah, then you're showing that you're bottled the Gafne to the one and only, that Hashem, how he is b'maimah echad, and he's noizen HaTorah, he's the one that gives the Torah. When you make that blessing, you, as it were, elevate yourself upwards to the maimah echad. You're bottled complete to the maimah echad. That's what you say when you bless Hashem. He's the one and only maker of the world, Melech HaOlam, and he gives the Torah me, Maimah Echad. However, he said that they limit the Torah. Later, when you sit down to learn the Torah, Limud kola protim vadinim, but protim. He said that's the asora mamoris Shabbat Torah. Well, that's all the details. Megadim ba'olam shekol matziyusay, v'kol proto yehem kedoshim. They're part also of shtayim zu shamat. Asora mamoris of Hashem. The tafkidim who rak legalosas haboirei. The whole union of all the details is also to reveal the boirei. Mesakim zois, the Rebbe said we can sum it all up by saying, hamaimah echad poyum bittul ve'aliyah. When you bottle alidei bracha in your limud HaTorah to Hashem, then you're, as it were, going upwards in a form of extreme bittul. Let's call bittul b'metzias. He said, "V'asora mamores mamshikim or mekadshim gamis kol hametzias ha'olam." They make the whole world significant, and then you reveal alidei the details in the Torah. The asora mamores Shabbat Torah, but that's the of the halachas and all the pratitim. Then you reveal how every prat of the world has got some meaning and some kedusha, and it's also part of Hashem's plan. But it's how Hashem has made it in the detail form. Davki b'asora mamores never. So the Rebbe said, "Meidach amayla sheish b'asora mamores." Yishahem mekadshim es ha'olam kafi shehu. But a kedusha, he kedusha, bedaga namucha yoter ha'shaychus la'olam. Well, that's the shleimus, how it is mitzad the asara mamoris Shabbat. V'ashleimus here's the pitch line. So he says the ultimate perfection, b'shor shekam dagas ha'erakus shel ha'mayla me'ha'olam, tachtor ba'olam, and that should penetrate also the world. As dira l'kodesh baruch will be atzmai. Then the very essence of Hashem will be able to come down in and unite with the world in a detail. So you unite the two of them together. You unite the Asora Mamoris Shabbat Torah with the Maimah Achas Shabbat Torah, and then they become one in, and that's the union of a dira. So therefore he says, "Adira l'kodesh baruch atzmai, gam be'erakus shel ha'mayla me'ha'olam, kamo kol dira nomadias b'taktoinim." Shadavke, the Eibishter, how he is, he comes into the dira. That's what the Rebbe says is a normal dira, that the owner comes inside the dira. And he said, Betaktoinim means B'matzias Oilom Kafishu. You have to have a world the way it is. And then, but what you have to do is you have to sanctify that world according to the laws of the Torah. And then you reveal the Maila that there is in every detail. And then the Maima Echod, the Achas, Elokim, that comes down and dwells, and the two become one, Shleimas, and one unity together. It's an amazing, pretty amazing concept. And that's the in, and now it's understandable, the real in of Gira V'Tatoy. So the Rebbe makes the point, I'll just sort of bring it out a bit more sort of richly. The Rebbe says that what occurs here is that neither of the two necessities for the Dira really alter their very essence. He said, the Eibishter, how he is l'mayla mi'o'elam, achas, how they call it, ma'ima echod yochel hibon, he remains, exactly that, he remains atzmas ein sof, l'mayla mi'o'elam. He said, the world also doesn't go up and become some sort of a spiritual world. It remains taktoinim. And therefore the Russian is dira loy yizbarach be-taktoinim. The world has to remain what it is. All you have to do is change the kavona and the status of the world. You've got to make the world a Torah world. If you make it a Torah world, then the Hashem is going to come down there. But what happens is the Dira B'Taktoi, they remain what they are, basically. It all depends how you see what they are, basically. And if you see it the right way, then you bring that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how he is, Maima Echod, Yochol, he joins up with the Asar and Non-Hori. And therefore, that's the Mishnah. It's just unbelievable, get honest, to understand the Mishnah that way, that the Mishnah really is saying two things which are actual reality. Yeah, Basarim Amar is Nivroilam, that's one reality. Halui B'Maim Echod, Yochol, is the other reality. And the ultimate shleim is to get both of them together. And that's the inyan of Dira B'Taktoi. So the Rebbe now goes on in the Hemshech of the Sikha to point out different things that we find, like Shvira So'ima, Lag Bo'ima, all sorts of amazing preparations that we go through before we actually get Shvuot. And the Rebbe points out that each one of them has got these two aspects to it. It's got this B'Maim Echod, Achasi, and it's got the details and how Torah changes the nature of these details. And then he says, with that we'll understand why you didn't have to come into a desert in order to receive the Torah. Obviously, it doesn't seem to make any sense. So the Rebbe says that you had to have Yidden in the way that they were B'Taktoinim, but they made the Taktoinim into a very good thing. What did they do? They all became one after they all came into Midbar Sinai. Vayichen Shom Yisrael Neged Ahar. They revealed the basic Kedusha and the actors that there is in every Yid, so they were able to all join together and be Actus Echod. And where did that happen? Davki and Amidbar. So the Rebbe said, what is a midbar? A midbar doesn't appear to have any owner. The midbar appears to be a place beyond all. So he said, that's Atma saying, so the Avis is so great that he can only be called a midbar. The Avis is beyond all the ownerships and beyond everything. Yeah, but it's a pshita, so Atma. Yeah, that's like a midbar. The Atma saying so is linked with the concept of a midbar. And so therefore you have the two things. You have on the one hand all the details of the Yidden, and they all form a sanctity in the details, and that's the actors. And then they're all together in a midbar, and that midbar is Laman Yusa, and it's got a mile that indicates beyond all limitations and the absolute simplicity of the aim. So that's the midbar. That's the crutch of the midbar. Yeah, and it's something called Yochel of Hashem. He can take that absolute, as it were, almost like Hefka, and he can still make, that still belongs to him. It's the intent, like the content of the midbar that's important. So then he gets to at the end of the Sikha, the Rebbe said, what does he want? So he said before Shavuos, and particularly from Rosh Chodesh and further, he wants that they should make what he called kinnusim. All Yidden should come together in shuls, and they should learn, Yidden should give stock, and they should have what's called a kinnus, a kinnus term, in the last few days before Shavuos. And the Rebbe says on Shavuos, they should make sure they have all the children, all the Yiddish kinder should come in the shul. And then the Rebbe talks about the mile of children. But what's the mile of the kinnusim? The Rebbe said the whole mile of the kinnusim is just a person has to get out of his normal business. And even though he's going into a shul, he's going into the desert, he's going into the midbar. He's giving himself away. And he says he wants to be with other Yidden together. He doesn't want to, he can't receive the Torah on his own. He has to be with other Yidden in Ein. And that's Kulam getting together, the actors. And they're in a place of, it's a place of Atzma saying, Ein Sof, the Beit Knesset. It's like the midbar. It's like the unknown quantity of the pshitas of Hashem's essence. And he said, through those things connected, then there'll be the Emerson Inyan of Matan Torah. That will be the and by bringing all the children, you bring the simplicity of the Atzmas of our Yidden. The children having themselves absolute, they don't know of any concept. They mean business in the absolute pshita stick away, and it's brought down in the Midrash that how do you call it, the guarantors of the whole Jewish people. They're like the children represent. They're our representatives. So they're like the whole Jewish people. You get the Jewish kids, it's like you're getting, as far as Shavuos is concerned, you're getting the whole Jewish people. So what you got is, if you're bringing a lot of kids, you got the whole Jewish people. You got them ba'aktas, you got all the milas of the details, and then you make it a deal of you bring the midbar, the pshitas, the absolute simplicity of the Eibishter, we use B'mayma Echad, you bring that down and unite it with all the Yidden together. And then you have Matan Torah, the pshitas, and then you had Dir Loyes Bottom, Taptanium. You have this like. So that's, so you saw, says the Rebbe, there's no reason why Mashiach didn't come immediately on the spot. If you didn't all reach that type of madrega, and they're all holding by that, and all the Yishakinder, all Kochins, and all the Yidden are all together one, and the Eibishter, you have B'mayma Echad, Yochel Hibaris, he's come down into the world, then everything is ready, and that's the of Mashiach. So I think that if anybody just, to use the Rebbe's expression, opens his eyes and looks a little bit at what's happening in the world around us, and we see that these wonderful, these amazing mysteries, what they represent, like I pointed out before, and then it will be very big motivation to carry out all these, what the Rebbe suggests, and it should be B'Pel Mamish, and it should be an Oven, but not just we want Mashiach now, but we've got Mashiach now.
Amen.
We'll have him, and the Chaim of the Rock everybody. 600,000 children, not necessarily. You can have any number you want, because they're like our representatives. They're our raven. You don't have to have the same number of a raven as you are in your own number. As the old saying you have it in English, you wanted it, so you got it.
I was here on Sunday.
Do you receive his messages?
I saw that he's not feeling well.
And he wrote it.
Yeah.
Your friend in Australia.
I just heard
There
there
is
was
now
something.
Academy.
I also fell yesterday. I fell. I hit my
God,
hip on
That's
a
the some
box.
shit.
I was rushing out of my house and I tripped on a carpet and there was a box that was right on the stairs. And I fell on it. I hope my tooth will be okay then.
And Shem's Lord, the praises Shem, you're all missing, all the victims that are happening. And the fact that people are getting thanks for Shem for all the missing.
1 year
That's
younger.
what they're doing up there now. In the
Have you
place
seen
where
him in the street, or is he not keeping
And
going out?
Goes every day.
feel some of the missing, giving thanks, which Lord,
Is he on
and
Facebook?
let Shem
What's his
wake up in the middle of the night
deficiency?
and get onto the language mind.
Agoraphobia, fear of going outside.
What is intelligence?
Very high.
Is it like his brother?
It's like a jumping on the mind in the middle of the night. Trying to work out where the dead will come from.
Up top?
But we go
Where's the entrance?
straight up into the language mind.
At the back,
Yes.
there's 3 doors.
Good.
This is the middle door.
And where's yours?
The first door.
Thank you,
First
my boy.
door. We overlook the
Where
windows.
we gave us a few words.
The Hanazon.
That's what he began to see.
My
Time
grandson, so
serving.
did he fell.
It's all an amazing gift.
Is that
You
for Baruch?
guys live in Chaim?
I know.
No.
What do you mean?
Right, where is it?
What do you mean?
Yes, you're right. What do I mean?
We're not talking about vodka, so we're talking about wine. Give him wine.
You served in the Australian army. You served in Sahel. Did you serve in the Australian army?
אישה צריך
We
לכבוד.
have to remember
אני לא יודע, אולי לא.
This is for you.
סבי מרנן, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן.
You were born in Australia. Did you serve in the Australian army?
That's right.
In what year?
Yeah. It's true, I served in the Yom Kippur War.
No, but before that, in Australia, were you in
I
the...
also served in Ukraine.
In what year were you in the Australian
What
army?
year was it? No. Probably around about 54, 55.
Yeah. What was your position? Regular soldier? What was your tafkid in the Australian army?
I was just ordinary soldier.
And in the Yom Kippur War, also an ordinary soldier.
Right.
In the Yom Kippur War, also.
Oh, here I was like a cannon. I was in charge of, I was not in charge, but I was on a cannon. And they later wanted to make me in charge, but I said I would prefer not to take the responsibility.
Did you serve in the Suez or in the Golan? Which front?
Yeah, we went up that far. We were up on the coast. Not up until we were up on the coast. We were guarding the possibility of the fact of the sea.
Okay.
Oh, so got it.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא מיני מזונות.
Amen. Ah. No, Yeshai. Chaim.
I'm fine.
Chaim.
Gesund, stark, בריאות וחזק.
וגילוי אבל כל התברku.
You sit down. the Rebbe, you say, do you understand a bit of English? Or, a couple of words here and there. And the Rebbe said that we must make special effort to publicize the missing. We should encourage people to talk about the missing and to discuss them. That's normally a lot of Yidden will tell you, don't talk too much, don't throw in the iron horror, keep it quiet. But the Rebbe said that maybe it might have been applicable generations ago. But now you have to document fasting, the missing, and you have to encourage people to tell one another about them. The other day said, you're Meghalaya, and you bring about in the world what we learned tonight. You bring about that people begin to see that there's a higher Indian in the world called the Maimah Echad Yochel Lihiboris. That's how Hashem is the one and only called Yochel to bring about the creation of the Yesh Meyayim, and therefore everything is only Him. And if you talk about missing, that people begin to get that into their mind, that it's not just that Hashem deals with the details, but that He's like the absolute Balabas of the situation. That's what the message is. That's the message that they bring to people. But remember, it's a big thing nowadays to encourage people to talk about things. That's what the Rebbe said on numerous occasions. And Mamela, that's we see a very amazing thing that the Parshas of Bechukotai that we're reading begins with the most amazing blessings, And it says, give your rain in the right time. And the Baal Shem Tov said about that the word for rain in Russian Kodesh, Geshem or Gash, means also Gashmias. It means not just rain, but it means all the physical requirements of a mensch, that Nasati Gishmeichem Be'ito, that the Eibishter will look after your Gafne and your Parshas also. If you will learn Torah and you'll be adequate. Rashi says it's not enough just to learn Torah, you have to horror in Torah, you have to learn how to go a maiden Torah. And if you do that, then Hashem will learn, and then there's a whole series of amazing blessings. One of several which have got to do with the situation right now. I mean, that's right. After the Kriyas HaTorah this morning, I davened in a yeshiva down in the yeshivas the Rosh Yeshiva got all the Gafne around the omelet, and he made like a little speech to them that they should worry and that Hashem is running the world. Hashem is helping him. He sort of elevated their morale and he got everybody going because they were a bit scared. Some of them, the truth is. We of us have been living so many years already, it's all sort of more. But some of them were a bit sort of, there's an expression in Yiddish, Vertrutzkeit. Vertrutzkeit means, so when he finished making the speech, I went over to him and I said, look, it's all written in what we just read in the Parshas, in the Torah. And it's written that you will lay down and sleep and you won't have to wake up in the middle of the night. There won't be anything that will frighten you. And the enemies will flee. And it's all written in Mamish in the Torah openly.
Did you wake up?
Yeah.
Did you wake up last night?
Oh.
Did you or your wife wake up last night?
Yeah, we woke up, and I must be quite honest with you, I went back to sleep. My wife got a bit, for church yet, but I thought it was, then she explained to me that we live at the Grove Fires very close to where they sent the Patriarch rockets. the booms that we heard were actually the Patriot rockets going. But I was in the army, so I'm used to when a plane breaks the sound barrier, it makes a big boom. Okay? So the way I heard it, I don't hear that well anyway. I thought it was planes breaking the sound barrier. That's the way I interpreted it. So I said to my wife, "Don't worry, it's just that they're so anxious to get somewhere. They're breaking the sound barrier."
Good, and you were pretty right.
That's what I told my wife. Little did I know that there really was something going. So I just very calmly, as an old saying in Yiddish, "Als de basically drank up the tweede side," I turned over the other side and I went back to sleep. And my wife found that a bit more difficult, but I think she also managed to get it. And little did we know that there was quite a drama going on out there. But the Bokharim, they've got all these crazy telephones, they knew what was going on. So I said to the Rosh Hashanah, that's all written in the party, that the whole thing is there. And the amazing thing is that the Ramban, you hear mentioned, the Ramban says that all those blessings are so integral in that it shows you how the activity of a Jew is so linked to the physical world. That's never been in history at such an intimate, integral relation. And he said, that's only going to be when Moshe will come, then all these blessings will be. That's what the Ramban knows. But if you look in Rashi, then you don't find that. He doesn't say so. He says about one or two of the blessings that they will be, but he stresses they will be when Moshe comes. Mashma that Rashi learns, just however it goes. That some of them are going to be now, some of them are going to. But it's like a natural follow-up from the way they didn't elect. That's what's going to be. We see here what the Rebbe is pointing out. It's all written in that little bit that we read in the Bechukotai as well. It's all there. That if you will do this, and you will do that, and particularly like Rashi says, you will learn Torah with effort and with Omar, and you learn it in the form of Chokah, Chokhisai, then all these things will just follow naturally, and they will occur as like a direct follow from what you did. And the fact that you acted that way will cause the Metzius of the world, divinely, of course, inspired, to react adequate following proportionately to that. And that's what's written in the Bechukotai. And isn't it amazing? It's just so mind-boggling that a few hours after that happened, all the Yidden throughout Eretz Yisrael get into a shul, they bring out the Sefer Torah, and they read this passage. And it says everything, the state taught everything. You'll chase your enemies and they will flee. Everything is written there. But it makes it all dependent just in you learning Torah and studying Torah. But like Rashi says, a mailing. You have to work out to change yourself a bit. And you got to learn in a way that you're not going to be the same old schlepper and the same old balabos that you were before when you learn. There's a mailing the Torah and changing the whole mitzvahs of yourself. Everyone in the world has just changed proportionately. That's it. As they come to,